Did you know that the average person has upwards of 500 negative or evil thoughts each day? These thoughts could belong to anyone, a friendly neighbor, a trusted friend, or even a stranger you pass on the street. In this series, we explore these sinister minds told from their own chilling perspectives. Prepare yourself for a psychological journey into the depths of human depravity. If you have sinister confessions you'd like to make, send them to the email listed in the channel's description. We'll ensure your confessions stay anonymous, but don't get unnoticed. Remember, you never truly know what someone is thinking or what they might be capable of. Viewer discretion is advised.
As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting elongated shadows across the quiet town, I prepared for another night in my clinic. The soft hum of fluorescent lights buzzed overhead, a constant reminder of the sterile environment I had cultivated. My name is Dr. Victor Hale, and I am a veterinarian. But my passion lies far beyond simply healing animals. I've always been fascinated by the fragility of life. Animals, with their trusting eyes and innocent hearts, hold a special place in my world. They come to me, seeking help for their ailments, unaware of the darkness that lurks beneath my white coat. The trust they place in me is intoxicating, a power trip that fuels my insatiable appetite for control. Tonight was special. A new case had arrived, a scruffy terrier named Max, whose owner claimed he had been acting strangely. I couldn't help but smile at the thought of what lay ahead. Max would soon learn that his only salvation lay in my capable hands. The clinic was quiet, save for the occasional rustle of paperwork and the distant whir of the air conditioning. As I prepared for my patient, I reminisced about my past encounters. Each case had taught me something new, each animal a unique canvas on which to express my twisted artistry. The thrill of operating, of dissecting, of pushing the boundaries of pain and healing was unlike anything else. My colleagues believed I was simply a meticulous surgeon, but they were blissfully unaware of the true nature of my work. Max arrived, a trembling bundle of fur, and I could see the fear in his wide eyes. His owner, a frail elderly woman named Mrs. Henderson, was oblivious to the horrors that awaited her beloved pet. She patted Max's head, her voice quivering with concern. "He's been so anxious lately, Doctor. I just want him to be okay." "Of course, Mrs. Henderson. I'll take good care of him," I assured her, my voice dripping with false compassion. Once she left, the real fun began. I placed Max on the examination table, his tiny heart racing beneath my gloved hands. The clinic was equipped with all the tools I needed, a veritable playground for someone like me. I leaned closer, whispering sweet nothings to the terrified creature. "Don't worry, little one. I'll make you feel better." I injected him with a sedative, watching as his eyes slowly drooped. The world faded, and I was left alone with my thoughts and my prey. The thrill coursed through my veins as I prepared my instruments, each one gleaming under the harsh lights. As I made the first incision, a rush of adrenaline flooded my senses. The familiar scent of blood filled the air, intoxicating and sweet. I reveled in the moment, knowing that I was the master of life and death. With each cut, I explored the delicate anatomy of Max's body, marveling at the intricate design of nature. But it wasn't enough. I craved more than just the physical act of surgery. I needed to push boundaries. What if I could see how far I could go before he was beyond saving? I continued to operate, ignoring the alarms ringing in my conscience. The line between healing and harming blurred, and I felt a euphoric high wash over me. Max's whimpers turned into faint cries, and I recognized the sound as music to my ears. I had crossed a threshold that few dared to explore. Each desperate plea for mercy only fueled my fire. I had become the god of this small universe, and I would not be stopped. Suddenly, the door swung open, and I froze, my heart racing. Mrs. Henderson had returned. "I forgot to ask about his diet," she exclaimed, her voice echoing in the sterile room. Panic surged through me as I quickly covered Max with a sterile cloth, hiding the evidence of my work. "Oh, Mrs. Henderson, you shouldn't be here," I stammered, forcing a smile onto my face. She frowned, her gaze drifting to the covered figure on the table. Is he okay? Of course. Just a little tired from the examination, I lied, my heart pounding in my chest. You really should wait in the waiting room. Reluctantly, she left, and I exhaled sharply, praying that my mask hadn't slipped. I returned to my work, but the interruption had unsettled me. I couldn't let anyone, especially not a frail old woman, interfere with my plans. As I continued, I felt the familiar rush of power surge back, but now it was tinged with paranoia. I was on the edge, teetering between ecstasy and dread. What if someone discovered my secret? The thought sent a chill down my spine, but it only drove me further into madness. Hours passed, and finally, I reached the climax of my twisted procedure. Max lay there, barely clinging to life, a testament to my skills and my depravity. The thrill of knowing I had pushed him to the brink, of having him at my mercy, was beyond exhilarating. I cleaned up, the adrenaline still coursing through my veins, but my heart sank as I realized I couldn't leave any evidence behind. I meticulously disposed of the remains, ensuring that no trace of my actions lingered. As I scrubbed the blood from my hands, I felt a sense of satisfaction wash over me. But one thought lingered. What if Mrs. Henderson returned? What if she found out? I couldn't let that happen. I had to silence her, to ensure that my world remained undisturbed. Gathering my composure, I headed to the waiting room, where Mrs. Henderson sat, anxiously tapping her foot. "How is he?" she asked, her eyes wide with concern. "He's stable," I assured her, the smile returning to my face. "But I recommend a few follow-up visits to monitor his recovery." She nodded, relief washing over her features. "Thank you, doctor. You've always been so good to us." As I watched her leave, a sense of dread washed over me. I couldn't let her leave with that knowledge, with the possibility of returning. I had to act quickly. "Mrs. Henderson," I called after her, "I believe your dog needs a little more attention. Why don't you come back tomorrow morning? I can keep him overnight for observation." Her face brightened, oblivious to the danger that loomed. "Oh, that would be wonderful. I'll bring his favorite blanket." As she left, I couldn't shake the feeling of unease. I had made my choice, and now I had to see it through. I would ensure that no one ever discovered what I had done. The next morning, I prepared for the inevitable. Max's life would become a permanent part of my legacy, a testament to my twisted mind. I waited, heart racing, for Mrs. Henderson to arrive. When she did, she was filled with excitement. "I brought his blanket," she exclaimed, a smile lighting up her face. I led her to the back, where Max lay, still and silent. "He's resting," I said, my voice steady. But inside, I was a storm of chaos. As I watched her lean over Max, her expression shifted from joy to confusion. "Why isn't he moving?" "Don't worry, Mrs. Henderson. He's just in a deep sleep," I lied, my heart pounding. But I knew the truth. Max was gone, a victim of my insatiable appetite for control. And as I watched the realization dawn on her, I felt a thrill unlike any other, the kind of rush that comes from knowing I had succeeded in my dark game. In that moment, I understood the true nature of my existence. I was not just a veterinarian. I was a predator lurking in the shadows, a sadistic artist painting with the blood of my victims. And as I smiled at Mrs. Henderson's shattered world, I knew I would do it again. The thrill of the hunt, the exhilaration of control, it was a cycle I would never tire of. As long as there were trusting souls in need, I would be there, ready to unleash my darkness upon them. Each animal that crossed my path was merely a stepping stone in my twisted journey, a testament to the fragility of life and the depths of my depravity. Days turned into weeks, and with each passing day, I reveled in my hidden life. I continued to attract new clients, each one unknowingly stepping into my web of manipulation. I played the role of the compassionate veterinarian flawlessly, gaining their trust while hiding my true intentions. One evening, as I was closing the clinic, a young couple walked in, cradling a small kitten in their arms. Its fur was matted, and it mewed pitifully, drawing my attention. "We found her abandoned outside," the woman explained, tears in her eyes. "We couldn't just leave her there." "Of course, bring her in," I said, my voice smooth and inviting. Inside, however, I felt a rush of excitement. This little creature would become another canvas for my twisted artistry. I examined the kitten, whose frail body trembled in fear. "She's malnourished and likely has a few infections," I said, feigning concern. "But don't worry, I can help her." As I prepped for the procedure, I could see the couple's hope shining in their eyes. They believed in me, in my ability to save their precious pet. But what they didn't realize was that their trust would be their undoing. Once they left, I wasted no time. I sedated the kitten, feeling the familiar thrill as I prepared my instruments. Each slice, each incision, was a dance of darkness, a celebration of my power. The kitten's feeble cries echoed in the empty clinic, a haunting melody that fueled my desires. With each passing moment, I pushed the boundaries further, testing the limits of life and death. The kitten's body lay before me, a fragile testament to my sadistic creativity. I was in my element, lost in the euphoric haze of control. But as I worked, I felt a twinge of anxiety creeping in. What if someone walked in? What if the couple came back early? I couldn't afford any mistakes. I had to focus. Just as I reached the pinnacle of my procedure, the clinic door swung open. My heart dropped as the couple rushed in, panic etched on their faces. "We forgot to ask about her food," the man shouted. I froze, my mind racing. "You shouldn't be here," I hissed, hastily covering the kitten with a sterile cloth. I forced a smile, my heart pounding in my chest. "She's just resting." Their eyes searched the room, and I could see the suspicion growing in the woman's gaze. "Why does it smell like blood?" she asked, her voice trembling. "Nothing to worry about. Just some routine procedures," I replied, my voice smooth. But internally I was screaming. I had to get them out. "Let's go to the waiting room," I suggested, my smile strained. "I'll be with you shortly." Reluctantly, they left, and I felt the adrenaline pumping through my veins. I had narrowly escaped, but the close call left me trembling. I had to finish the job and remove any evidence of my actions. Returning to the kitten, I worked with renewed urgency, every movement calculated. I couldn't let fear take over. I was the master here. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, I completed the procedure. The kitten lay there, lifeless but beautiful in its fragility. With the couple still waiting in the other room, I quickly disposed of the remains, ensuring nothing would ever point back to me. As I washed my hands, I felt a sense of calm wash over me. I had done it again, and I was still untouchable. When I finally emerged, the couple was waiting anxiously. "How is she?" the woman asked, her eyes filled with hope. "She's stable," I assured them, forcing a smile onto my face. "But she will need more care. I recommend you take her home and keep a close eye on her." Their faces lit up with relief, and I felt a surge of satisfaction. They trusted me completely, and I was in control of their fate. As they left, I couldn't help but think of the kitten, now a permanent part of my legacy. I reveled in the thought of the darkness I had unleashed, the power I held over life and death. Days turned into weeks, and I continued my work, each new case feeding my insatiable hunger. I became a master at navigating the delicate balance of trust and betrayal, always one step ahead of those who sought to uncover my secrets. But with each success, the thrill began to wane. I craved something more, something that would elevate my dark artistry to new heights. I needed to push the boundaries even further, to explore the depths of my depravity. One night, as I was closing up, a young woman entered the clinic, her face pale and frantic. "My dog, Bella, she's collapsed. Please, you have to help her." "Let's go to the waiting room," I suggested, my smile strained. "I'll be with you shortly." As you lay down to sleep tonight, consider this. The gentle hands of your local veterinarian, the trusted figure who soothes your pets, may hold secrets darker than you could ever imagine. Behind the white coat and reassuring smile lies the potential for manipulation and control. Imagine, just for a moment, that the person you've entrusted with your beloved animal's care is not who they seem. What if their passion for healing masks a sadistic curiosity, an eagerness to experiment, to push boundaries, and to wield life and death at their whim? Every time you hear the soft purr of your cat or the playful bark of your dog, remember that their vulnerability places them at the mercy of someone who knows exactly how to exploit that trust. The faintest whimper in the night could be a reminder of the fragility of life, the thin line between care and cruelty. As you close your eyes, let the thought linger. While you drift into dreams, there are those who thrive on the power of life and death, lurking in the shadows, waiting for their next opportunity. Tonight, as you seek rest, ask yourself, who truly holds the leash? Sleep tight, but remember, not all who care for our pets do so with pure intentions. The darkness may be closer than you think,